Hello, my name is Angie Vargas, and today I'm going to analyze the book Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Hurston. Zora Neale Hurston, she was an influential author of African American literature and anthropologist who portrayed racial struggles in the early 20th century American South and published research on Haitian voodoo. Of Hurston's four novels and more than 50 published short stories, plays, and essays. Her most popular is the 1937 novel Their Eyes Were Watching God. Summary and setting. The story begins and ends with a conversation between the same people told in one setting, but while only a few hours have passed, a lot of ground has been covered. We can see how powerful Zora's memories are because the novel's setting and many of its characters are based on her recollections of Eatonville. As she so often does, Hurston draws from her own experiences to fuel the story. Many of her storytelling techniques come from listening to men and women telling tales while sitting on the porch at Joe Carr's General Store in Eatonville. Here we have the characters of the book. The main character is Jane Crawford. Their Eyes Were Watching God follows the life of Jane Crawford, a girl of mixed black and white heritage around the turn of the century, which was not an easy time to be of mixed race. The novel documents her emotional growth and maturity through three marriages. Logan Killick's Jane's first marriage to farmer Logan Killick is played and executed by Jenny's well-intentioned grandmother, Nanny. Unfortunately, Nanny's plan doesn't go so well. In this marriage, Jenny chafes under the inspired but reliable Logan. Make that inspired, reliable, and abusive after he threatens to kill her for not obeying him. Jane leaves Logan for the suave and ambitious Joe Stark. Joe Starks. Joe takes Jenny to Eatonville, Florida, America's first all-black city, where she lives the high life as the mayor's wife. However, Jenny finds that her husband has very rigid definitions of a woman's role. Joe often silences Jenny and refuses to listen to others' opinions, which is not kind of good. As Joe grows old, he tries to divert public attention from his failing body by accusing Jenny of acting too young for her age. Finally, Jenny can't bear it anymore and lashes out at Joe, insulting his manhood and pride. Joe is defeated and takes to his deathbed, refusing to let Jenny visit him. Jenny bursts into Joe's room in his final moments and speaks her mind. After his untimely death, Jenny dons widow's clothes and lives happily as a single woman until she meets a sleek and funny-loving vagrant named Tea Cake. Although Tea Cake is 12 years younger than Jane, with him she finds the true love she has dreamed of all her life. In the relationship, both sides experience bouts and jealousy, but Jane and Tea Cake eventually find happiness working in the fields of the Everglades and mingling with the migrant workers. Disaster arrives in the form of a hurricane. Tea Cake is given plenty of warnings about its coming and even an opportunity to flee, but he chooses to stay on the Mac for the love of money. The hurricane strikes with divine ferocity, forcing all of the Everglades inhabitants to either live or die. While fleeing the storm, Tea Cake saves Jane from a ferocious dog, but gets himself beaten in the process. Tea Cake gets rabies, and his natural jealousy turns into aggressive suspicion and paranoia over Jane. At the end, Jane is forced to shoot her husband to protect herself. Rabies is not pretty, so she's put on trial for murder. She's pronounced innocent. After Tea Cake's funeral, Jane returns home to Eatonville. There, she meets up with her old friend Phoebe Watson and tells her the whole story. This narration to Phoebe provides the framing for the whole novel. We're going to see three symbols. The first one is her. Jenny Her is a symbol of her power and unconventional identity. It represents her strength and individuality in three ways. The first one, it represents her independence and defiance of very community standards. The town's critique at the very beginning of the novel demonstrates that it is considered undignified for a woman of Jenny's age to wear her hair down. Her refusal to bow down to their norms clearly reflects her strong and rebellious spirit. Second, her hair functions as a phallic symbol. Her braid is constantly described in phallic terms and functions as a symbol of a typically masculine power and potency, which blurs gender lines and thus threatens Jody. Third, her hair, because of its straightness, functions as a symbol of weakness. Mr. Turner worships Jane because of her straight hair and other Caucasian characteristics. Her hair contributes to the normally white male power that she wields, which helps her disrupt traditional power relationships, male over female, white over black, throughout the novel. The pear tree and the horizon. The pear tree and the horizon represent Jenny's idealized views of nature. In the bee's interaction with the pear tree flowers, Jane witnesses a perfect moment in nature, full of erotic energy, passionate interaction, and blissful harmony. She chases after this ideal throughout the rest of the book. Similarly, the horizon represents the far-off mystery of the natural world, with which she longs to connect. Jane's hauling in of her horizon like a great fishnet at the end of the novel indicates that she has achieved the harmony with nature that she has sought since the moment under the pear tree. The hurricane. The hurricane represents the destructive fury of nature. As such, it functions as the opposite of the pear tree and horizon imagery. Whereas the pear tree and horizon stand for beauty and pleasure, the hurricane demonstrates how chaotic and capricious the world can be. The hurricane makes the characters question who they are and what their place in the universe is. Its impersonal nature, it is simply a force of pure destruction, lacking consciousness and conscience, makes the characters wonder what sort of world they live in, whether God cares about them at all, and whether they are fundamentally in conflict with the world around them. In the face of the hurricane, Jane and the other characters wonder how they can possibly survive in a world filled with such chaos and pain. Let's talk about something about the modernism period. The literature of the 1920s, a period of post-war prosperity, was marked by a sense of freedom and experimentation. But the 1930s brought the Depression and an end to the cultural openness that had allowed the Harlem Renaissance to flourish. In the book Their Eyes Were Watching God, we can see some characteristics, and we can see in this part some connections between the modernism and its characteristics. For example, one of them is Mark. One characteristic of the modernism period is that it was marked by a strong and intentional break with tradition. The break includes a strong reaction against established religious, political, and social views. So there are some characteristics, and now we are going to see some quotations where we can see these characteristics. Here we have some supportive quotations where we can see some characteristics of the modernism period. The first one is ships at a distance have every man's wish on board. In the novel opening sentence, the narrator introduces Jane's motivation to pursue her dreams and to reach them. As the novel unfolds, it is clear that Jane's quest to find out who she is will be difficult and full of obstacles. Another one is Honey the White Man is the ruler of everything. Based on her experiences as a slave and as a free woman in a segregated society, Nanny believes whites have all the power. She conveys the lessons of the constraints on black women to Jenny. The other one is Jane's first dream was death, so she became a woman. Married at 16, Jane begins to learn about love and desire. She realized getting married to Logan Cleeks did not make her fall in love with him. This quotation implies that being disappointed in love is a normal part of becoming a mature woman. The other one is you don't know half as much about us as you think you do. When the Porsche series criticizes Mr. Robbins, Jane defends her and, by extension, all women. This is a rare example of Jane standing up for her beliefs during her life with Joe. The other one is here was peace. She pulled in her horizon like a great fish net. As the novel closes, Jane is content. She has had the chance to live and love. She has achieved her dreams and has found herself in the process. The conclusion of the novel evokes the themes of love and independence. I hope that you had learned something. This is like a conclusion. Jane and TK, they were looking for God through the nature. Maybe because of that, it's the name of the book. Thank you.